Hello, this is Rick Saltarelli with Salty Breeze Cruise Planners with this week's segment of Beyond Your Front Door. And today I have one of our most trusted vendor partners, Tauck, and I have with us today Jennifer Thorson. Jennifer, welcome to our program. How are you today?
I'm great, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. And Tauck is, as I said, one of our most trusted partners, but perhaps not a company that everybody has heard about. So why don't you let me know, or let our listeners know, who Tauck is?
Yeah, I find this a lot that people hear about Tauck from friends or from family or maybe trusted travel advisors like you, but they don't know about us because we don't spend money on advertising. We feel if we put um, more back into the product, into the experience, instead of spending the millions of dollars that the other companies spend, then our guests will come home and say, wow, that was such a great trip. And then they'll want to go again, and then they'll tell somebody about it. So that's really how we've grown since 1925. We're a family-run company on the third generation of the family, and yeah, the philosophy has been the same since 1925 to always take care of the guest, to do the right thing. If you or anybody came up to our office in Connecticut and you saw um, right in the inside alcove, there's a big acronym. TAUCK is spelled out like an acronym. T is trust and A is always do the right thing.
I love it.
Yeah. So we have trips all over the globe. We cover the 7 continents, and we're always focused on the best experience for your clients. So it's always the best located, best quality hotels. I know you and I were just talking about Canada. We stay in the Fairmont properties all over the globe, certainly in Canada. Um, the Banff Springs Hotel, the Chateau Lake Louise, the Chateau Frontenac, the Queenie, all those great properties. We include all the sightseeing on everything that we do. I happened to start my career at Tauck as a tour director a long time ago, and not once in my 10 years of running trips did I ever sell anything to a guest. It's always included in the price. So our guests know, they go see you and they hand over their credit card. I say they take the Band-Aid off quickly and they're done. We're not selling anything. And then one feature that I know our guests really like, and especially when I was running the Cape Cod trips, people loved it because there was always a lot of flexibility with the dining. So they could have dinner when they wanted to, they could have a table for two if they chose, or join others, and they could order what they wanted to have. And it's not the rubber chicken and you have to meet in a room at 7 o'clock like some ways of travel, but that's not what we do. But on that trip, I can't tell you how many times I take people back to Logan. They'd be holding their stomach saying, too much lobster, So if you can imagine, yes, that happens. But it's also about the way we take you, and the details that we put into every itinerary. So some examples: if you were to come with us to Italy, when we take you to the Vatican, we wait till it's closed and then we take you inside. Or if when we go to Washington, D.C., we'll take you into the National Archives before it opens. So there's no standing in line. You're going right up front to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and you can stay there as long as you'd like to because there's no pushing, and it's easy because we go there after hours or before it opens. We have a lot of after hours opportunities, like going to the Louvre and seeing the Mona Lisa. It's not thousands of people in a room to see this small painting. It's just us. Or events where we do like the Palace of Bucharest, where it's one of the largest buildings in the world, and we have a private dinner inside. We do a lot of things like that that are special to us and very, very unique to us that guests can't really get on their own.
Yeah, and you touched on three things that I think are very important for people. So thank you for doing that. One is you stay in iconic locations that are centrally located, which make a huge difference when you have that downtime in the evening and you want to step out and do something. You don't have to be looking for a taxi to go somewhere. And secondly, the fact that everything is included. So the last thing we want is a client that puts down their well-earned funds to go on a vacation, and then somebody's trying to upsell them every day to go see something, go do something. All of that is included in the price. So even if the price point might be a little bit different than the people expected, everything's included, and that is so important. And then the thirdly is having all of that flexibility when it comes to things like dining and having those great experiences, because that lobster bake in New England really is something you don't want to miss. So
Yeah, that's for
that is
sure.
awesome. And so you do travel all over the world. You've touched on that a little bit. So anywhere somebody wants to go. But one of the things I also wanted to ask you about is family travel. I know you do have a focus program on about that. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, I'm missing that right now. Believe me. We have a product called Bridges, and it was named for bridging the generations. So every trip has parents, grandparents, and kids. Average age of the kids is probably 13, but I've taken my 16-year-old nephews, and there's college age kids. You know, they're families, so they're generational. And we have, I think, 21 different Bridges programs, 4 or 5 different river cruises that are focused on kids, where you get off the boat and you're doing things that kids would like a bike ride around Paris instead of a bus ride where they might get antsy, and going up the Eiffel Tower and having lunch in the Eiffel Tower, and things that they they just feel so connected to. And because all the logistics are taken care of, you don't have to think about luggage, you don't have to think about where you're going to have dinner, you don't have to think about spending more money. Everybody bonds, and the parents are just free to relax and totally enjoy the destination, and not have to worry about anything. And it's just such a great time to spend with kids, instead of thinking, oh my God, if we don't go this way, we might get lost and we won't get there before it closes, and, all kinds of logistics. It's just easy. And I think if you have the time and the resources, there's no better way to spend your money, because that time you're not going to get back. It's, a short window when those kids are young, and you got to do it then. My oldest nephew that I take every year, he just turned 18, and I said, Alex, you won't want to be traveling with me anymore. He said, yes, I will. He's been exposed to a few Bridges trips. We did Canadian Rockies, we did Costa Rica, we did a river cruise, and he knows, he's going to experience something so different than he would get, if we went on our own.
Sure. And the one thing that I've come to realize when it comes to multi-generational travel is a lot of times the grandparents, it's really more about the experiences for the younger generation, and then creating for themselves those lifelong lasting memories of them in that destination with the younger generation, and seeing the younger generation really enjoying themselves and making their own memories. So that's a great big part of multi-generational travel. So I love it.
Yeah. Quick story. We did the Canadian Rockies Bridges trip, like I mentioned. My nephew had just, this nephew had just graduated high school, so he was 18. And one of his takeaways from that, besides it was the most beautiful place on earth and we stayed in a castle, but one of his takeaways was that my mom, his grandmother, became the cool grandparent because he never expected her to go whitewater rafting, but we did that on that trip. So yeah, it was all about that. Now I look at the pictures, my mom's not around anymore, and Daniel, my nephew, is just, he loved that trip as much as we did because he got to spend that time with her.
Well, and thank you for talking about that, because again, that's the memories. And you also talked about a North American trip. And so my next question is about some of those great trips in North America that you do. Do you have a favorite itinerary for families considering a close to home vacation?
Families, we have lots of North American itineraries for Bridges itineraries, which I would say any national park itinerary. We've got Alaska, we've got the Canadian Rockies. How can you beat that? I know that's where you are at the moment.
I
um,
am.
but there's so many really great ones that I can't say that there's one that's better than another. It, I guess, depends on where you want to go. But if you went on the cowboy country one, you stay at a dude ranch, and our guests love it, and the scenery is spectacular, and you get to witness a rodeo, and the kids participate in so much of these experiences, so they're a little bit more active, and they love it. It's memories, like you said, that they're always going to have.
And the national parks are, as we know, a national treasure. So for someone that has not been to Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon or even something in the DC area, or as we've been talking about, the Canadian Rockies, Alaska, these are all great places to get out and go and visit and stay at home. You may have to get on an airplane, but you are staying relatively within North America. And so if somebody was considering a Tauck vacation for the very first time, what advice would you give them when they're making their decision?
I'd say just choose a destination where you've always wanted to go. A lot of people will say, well, this year in North America is extremely popular with us for next year. I mean, it's selling right now very, very well for next year. But if you had a destination where you always wanted to go, you didn't feel so comfortable going on your own, just choose that and go. Whether you're on your own or you're part of a couple or you have a friend to go with, because our tour directors are so well trained and knowledgeable, and they're truly going to make sure that everybody's having a good time. They're teaching you about where you are. You're comfortable, you're relaxed, you're staying in great hotels, you're being fed wonderful food, and you're truly learning about where you are. There's no things left to chance. And I can't say that there's one destination that I would say, go to, this, but Italy, if you wanted to go to Italy, come with us. And then you won't want to travel with anybody else ever again. Or the Canadian Rockies, the same thing. You wake up and you're right there. Or the national parks, you're right there in Jackson Lake Lodge. With Florida, I mean, I don't know how tall those windows are in the lodge, but wow, you get such an immense view of the Grand Tetons, and it's just spectacular. I, I, I guess I'm a little biased. 24 years with a company, I drank the Kool-Aid, but yeah, you can't really go wrong on a Tauck trip.
Sure. Well, thank you for sharing that. And this is my very last question. It might be tough for you because you spent 24 years in the travel business and with Tauck, but if you were not in travel, what do you think you would be doing?
That's a good question. I would probably be working at some kind of job and paying for all these experiences that I get to do for my job. So I don't know. When I was a tour director, I thought about, I should have really gone into psychology because I feel like I'm part psychologist now. I don't know, maybe go into be an attorney or politics or something. But then again, I would be living for the experiences that I get to do so often now. So I really do feel like I hit the jackpot when I found Tauck 24 years ago.
Oh, very good. I feel like I found a kindred soul. We all have travel in our blood and we love to travel. So I want to thank you for being with me today. We've been talking with Jennifer Thorson from Tauck, and at Salty Breeze Cruise Planners, we help create lifelong lasting memories. If you want to get that memory started, it starts by giving us a call at 888-332-8202. Thank you for sharing this day with us.